Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. Please stick with us. Please, right now, Venezuela is off the table. Sometimes it's on the table. Sometimes we're talking about certain issues and others. But this is one that I think we have to keep on the front burner. And one of the reasons why is while we are all preoccupied with all of the crazy things that Donald Trump is doing, while we are all preoccupied with all these things, slowly but surely things are happening behind the scenes in Nicaragua. And then before you know what's up, guess what? There is a war. Before you know what's up, we are involved. Before you know what's up, and it goes on and on and on and on. So, folks, remember, Politics Done Right is not going to be just following what you hear, what you're hearing every day on TV. Yes, we're going to cover some of those issues as well. But most importantly, what we are going to cover are things of material interest to everybody. And that's, before we get started, I want to remind, there's a big local issue here that I won't speak about it right now because I don't have enough information. But if it becomes necessary, we intend to really blow it out of the water, a national issue having related to some local politics. And if things don't go the way that they should, we are going to have a huge progressive mobilization in Harris County. But let's wait and see. I was told to hold off to see exactly what is going to happen. So I won't make mention of that in Harris County, Texas right now, politically, that is. Now, second issue has to do with the DCCC. We kind of covered that in the last program. I am urging folks now. It is time for us now to simply stop saying, please don't do this to us. Please don't do that to us. It is time for us to come out and say, listen, every single person has a right to decide that they want to apply and run as a candidate in any or every election that they want to. For a portion of a party to tell folks that if you don't support, if somebody challenges an incumbent, that nobody should work with them, that is tantamount to communism. Okay? So therefore, any part of anyone's party, Democrat, Republican, or whatever, that ever makes an attempt to tell person X, Y, or Z that you cannot challenge somebody, then we should withhold our monies from said institution. I repeat, any organization within any political party that restricts those who want to run should immediately be boycotted and not funded by your dollars. And the reason why is simple. Every single person that get elected ought to earn that position of being elected. If they are very good, if they're doing the wants of the people, nobody is going to want to challenge them. And if there's somebody on the outside, somebody paid off or whatever, we would act accordingly. We are not silly now. I mean, if for some reason we know that there are plants or implants or whatever, we would take appropriate actions then. But for a party to simply come out and say, you are not going to be able to run if we have an incumbent in that position, that is something that must not and should never, ever be tolerated. Ever be tolerated. Anyhow, folks, the person that we're gonna have on now is a friend of Juan Guaido, who is now the supposed president of Venezuela. The president of Venezuela, I like to say appointed by Donald Trump. They went through some machinations to get this person as president of Venezuela. Well, this particular person that I am interviewing now knows Juan Guaido. He doesn't. He does not call Guaido the plutocrat that I call Guaido. He said Guaido kind of grew up like him. They kind of lift themselves up by the bootstraps, etc., etc. So John Garcia is the name of the person that I'm interviewing. He is an activist from Venezuela on the other side. He has a message that he wants progressives to listen to. As you know, I think we should all listen to all sides, make sure that we're not making mistakes when we support certain things. And that is exactly what I did with Mr. John Garcia. I listened. Did he convince me that, let's say, Chavismo is wrong? No, he did not. Did he convince me that there were things that went wrong? You bet he did. Did he convince me that there was corruption throughout Maduro, throughout Chavez, throughout Carlos Andres Perez or anybody else? Of course, because isn't there also corruption with Donald Trump? Is anybody trying to overthrow Donald Trump? I don't think so. But this interview goes for a while, so let me go ahead and get that started. This is John Garcia, an activist from Venezuela. Here is the interview that we did. Enjoy. It's a solid interview. Take a look. This is Politics Done Right, and I have a caller to Politics Done Right that tells me constantly that I have it wrong about Venezuela. He has not yet convinced me that I have it wrong about Venezuela. I am not a pro-Maduro person. I am a Chavista, and there are specific reasons why I am. I will ask him specifically why I am wrong, and I'll try to get him to tell me through his eyes how does he interpret what's happening in Venezuela and what has happened in Venezuela. Senor John Garcia, welcome to Politics Done Right. How are you doing today?
Thank you, Alberto. Thank you for the invitation, and well, I'm very happy to be here. And yes, I've been following you in KPFT and always interested in the points that you are speaking about U.S. economy and in general human rights and the progressive movement in the USA in general.
Right. Now, you're an activist in Venezuela, and I saw some of your videos. First of all, let me congratulate you first of all, based on everything that I've spoken to you thus far, you love Venezuela. You want Venezuela to succeed. The issue I have, or I think many people have, is how does a Venezuela succeed? So first of all, tell me what is and how is Venezuela through your eyes?
Well, right now the situation is very bad. As you see, we have this regime that started as a democracy with Chavez in the 1998, and progressively he was installing procedures and new laws to become and to stay in power. Why I think you are wrong with being Chavista? Because Chavez was a person that didn't really go for freedom, didn't really go to make the Venezuelans capable to be happy by themselves. He just tried to use the petroleum money to make the Venezuelan their slave, using the speech of the human rights, using the speech of socialism, using the speech of social justice to install a personalistic regime based on his image. And let's go back to why, because you are not wrong being Chavista, because you are maybe watching this from the outside. And let me make clear, before Chavez, we had at least 20 years where let's say the Democrats and the Republicans, our two parties,
right,
started just doing wrong and being a lot of corruption, not taking care of their duties, seeing that the people was getting poor more and more. They used the petroleum, the oil money, just to get them richer and richer. And that situation created a complete refusal to the politicians. It was the opportunity for an outsider. And in 1998, when Chavez, there was an ex-military that intended a coup against these politicians, that make him an hero. Because as people was rejecting the politicians, and he was the one intending a coup, he was the savior. In that election, he got the first place, 54% of the votes, and 43% of the votes was an entrepreneur. The politicians, the two parties, the Republicans and the Democrats, that the names are AD and COPEI, just got less than 1% of the votes. So people was definitely rejecting the system, going for an outsider. In this case, was an entrepreneur versus a military, and okay, the military won. But I'm not trying to save the previous politician. So Chavez got in power. His speech was against corruption, to help the poor, to try to organize the country, to eliminate all the abuses of the politicians. And once he stayed in office, he started speaking about revolution, speaking about controlling the economy, speaking about controlling the media, eliminating free press, going against the newspapers, going against the TV. I was a worker in TV, and I was a victim, let's say, of the censor, the media controlling. I don't want you to speak about me. So those lack of freedom is what sparked the resistance against Chavez.
Now okay, and for a long time, the only reason Nicolas Maduro can stay in power, the only reason a Chavez can stay in power is if you don't have enough popular support for the opposition, which you don't. I mean, that's a fact. You don't have the opposition.
No, let's in that times.
Right.
To be honest, because I also like I always try to search for the truth and to speak with the truth.
Right.
In the opposition parties, the opposition started being done by the NGOs, by the society, and we didn't want any control, any even presence of the political parties, of the old political parties. And with the time, they got the chance to get involved, to be part of, and they were melting with the NGOs. And right now, all this, what I call now the opposition. And they invented something like, as the enemy is so evil and so big and so strong, because Chavez got to have a lot of support in the low or poor people, low-income people. Say, as the enemy is so evil and so powerful, we need to be united. And they invented the union, unidad of the opposition. And everybody in the NGOs and everybody in new political leaders that tried to create a Venezuela different from Chavez, but different from the past, because the past was very bad. We got like trapped into this thing that was the opposite, the unity, that you got to be together with the political leaders of the past. And the low-income people and the poor and the Chavez followers say, yeah, see that, they're there. The past is there. And Chavez invented that phrase that was, you won't come back, no volverán. And in some sense, it was right. Actually, in my group, I invented the word ni un paso atrás, as a no step behind.
That's what we just said in Panama.
And no volverán,
Right.
both.
Right.
Because we need to build a better Venezuela, but we won't come back to the Venezuela before Chavez.
Right.
And the speech of Chavez is, if they win, the past will come back. And it was.
And that's what I want to
explore. Very
explore.
simpler.
And I want to explore that with you, because the past was really only a good past for at most 10% of Venezuelans, and you know that. I mean, the truth.
Not that bad, because that's the general, that's the prejudging speech.
Okay.
Like the far right is controlling and only the 1%, and it wasn't that bad. But Chavez was magic with the words. He was a great spokesperson.
I think.
But let me tell you, in Venezuela, there are not political parties on the right. None of the political parties are subscribed to the right. Basically, all the parties belongs to the International Socialist. So we really didn't have a right in Venezuela. Chavez invented that. Chavez invented that because the speech, he needed that for his speech. And so far, right now, there is not even entrepreneurs. We don't have private sector anymore. He took all the companies, he took all the media, all the media belongs to the government or to people friend of the government, or he owns, or people in the government owns the TV channels and the radios with testaferros, with other people facing. So far, he doesn't have even opposition in the media. He just controlled everything.
That's wrong. And I mean, that's Maduro. That's wrong. That wasn't under Chavez.
No. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Maduro, if you follow the policy making,
Right.
Maduro didn't change a piece. He didn't change anything. He just kept the wheel in the same direction.
Let me ask you this, John, and because this is what gets me, and I think this is what gets a lot of progressives who support Chavismo, and it's not a knock against people like you, because when I am talking about the same kind of structure that we have in the United States, what I find is that there are people who are, I call the guardians of the gates, okay, and somebody like you is one of the people that I call the guardians of the gate. It's not evil or anything like that. It's just how the system works. In other words, in Venezuela, you did very well. In Venezuela, you had a show on TV. In Venezuela, you did all these things. In Venezuela, you also, through your eyes, what you saw was a government that came in to get the people that you are familiar with out of power, the people who have been in power forever, right?
Yeah.
Your class has been in power forever. Is that right or wrong?
Wrong.
Okay, explain
Completely
where I'm
wrong. I'm the first person in my family that went to the university. So my father and mother were people that didn't go to college. They had to work very hard to make a living. And that the democracy in Venezuela, not the last 20 years that I was saying, but the times before, was capable to give opportunities to low-income people to educate their children to go to a next level, to move up. But when I came out of the university, that I went to a public tuition-free university. My family didn't have money to send me to a private school. I'm what you will say. I am not middle class, so I'm not a guardian of a system.
No, what I mean is this. I really don't want you. You know, I shouldn't have personalized it that way.
No.
You
please go ahead, because sometimes the prejudgment is the story,
but what I
reach,
mean, I understand.
And the system, and you're touching the rich people, knocking at the. And that was that way.
When I talk about you, I know that you elevated yourself out of it, okay? But it goes the same way here. I have friends here who grew up very, very poor, and they made it into the American corporatocracy, and they've changed. Their vision of why people are poor have changed. Their vision of why the system is okay now has changed to when they were outside of the system.
Yeah,
I always talk
about the syndrome of the rat. That when you're in the water, you are a different person. When you are already over the boat,
right.
So you don't want anybody else to go up.
Now, I'm not talking, and when I say you, I'm not talking about Juan Garcia. I'm talking about a lot of people who are like you and got there and became like my friends who became part of the corporatocracy and forgot that to be a part, you had to be chosen. In other words, when I talk about chosen, I created all this software that you're seeing in here, okay? And a lot of times I have a tendency to believe I attained all of this on my own. I didn't. Society did that because of the society that we lived in. The people who chose to buy my software over Greenleaf or other competitors that I had, they chose me. A lot of times, so what I'm trying to get over is a lot of people think that it's just about lifting yourself up from your bootstraps. You work hard and things work out. There are a lot of people who work hard, who sing hard, who do all these things hard that never made it. So we have to have a society that embraces some sort of that, lo que tú llamas socialismo, socialism, that take those issues into account. What I find is too many people just look at what, let's say, Chavez spoke about, spreading the wealth of the benefits of the country to others. Isn't that one of the problems that we really had with, let's say, you talk about the takeover of the media. I really wanted to hit on that. You were a part of the media. You were a good part of the media. I saw a couple of the videos that you, or the video that you just showed me. But if you have a media controlled by a plutocracy that is simply always attacking a government, which is the only thing then giving people a viewpoint, there are limits. What is there to be done?
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
No. I understand your logic, but
Right.
that logic is wrong.
Tell me why it's wrong.
Let's go back to the Chavez intention.
Right.
What Chavez was the best. The parties before Chavez, the one that went to power more times was called AD. AD.
What did that stand for?
And the people belonging to that party was the ADECOS.
Okay.
So members of the AD,
AD
party.
party.
And they invented in Venezuela the populism. They invented the using of the money to spread a little to the people and to get the people to vote for them.
Right.
And Chavez was the best ADECO of the history.
Right.
He just took the money of the petroleum, the oil, and he said, okay, I'm the saver. I'm the one giving you back what all the old guys was stealing from you.
Which was true.
Yes, and he just spreaded money to the people. But when you do that, you are not developing them. You are not making them independent.
You are 100%
You are
right.
not giving them tools, sustainable
You
tools.
are right.
What you are doing, you get to the moment that you are giving them a drug to stay stupid. And that's exactly what Chavez did.
And let me stop you
and,
there.
And that's what the whole world, socialist world, I don't know if they understand or they share that attitude.
Okay,
The thing is, Chavez was not taking Venezuela anywhere different to where it is right now. Maduro just kept the same politics in place. What happened to Maduro?
Right.
That the oil came from $100 and some
all the way down to
all the way down.
Yeah.
But the damage was made already. And what the damage was, that the socialism that Chavez started is not what I hope you guys here in the U.S. think what socialism is. What Chavez did was a very Soviet, Cuban-style socialism.
That isn't socialism, that's communism. There's a difference.
Yes. Communism is based on Marx. It's the last stage
Right.
where you have eliminate totally the private
Yes,
property.
exactly.
But in the process, you take all the production means for the state, and the state redistributes. And what Chavez did is he took all the production means of the company. I mean, coffee companies,
Here's
everything. Right now,
yeah.
there is no companies.
Right.
So when the oil came down, and then you don't have a private sector that give employments to anybody, and the public sector is poor now because it doesn't have the money of the petroleum, and they didn't save any. They stole everything. Now they are the biggest millionaires in the world.
John.
Maria Chavez
I know.
is the richest woman in the world.
And Donald Trump's daughter is the richest. Well, not
Yeah,
one of
yeah,
the-
but
what I'm trying to tell you,
I'm not defending
I know-
anyone
I know.
here. I'm speaking about Venezuela. They stole that money
yes,
from
they
the
did.
corp.
Yes, they did. And you know, there's not much disagreement that we're going to talk about Maduro being a crook, that that Chavez skimmed money. All of that is true. All of that is true of Trump. All of that is true of Carlos Andrés Pérez. In fact, Carlos Andrés Pérez went to jail. And folks, if you don't know, Carlos Andrés Pérez was the past president of Venezuela, one of the most corrupt guys that everybody liked. Remember, they actually liked Carlos Andrés Pérez. Now,
He was very sympathetic.
Yes.
As Chavez was.
right. But what I'm trying to say, John, is this, and this is where I try to ask my more affluent listener to not have tunnel vision, right? Everything that you said bad about socialism is what we associate with communism. What Chavez was attempting to do initially, and what happened with a plutocracy that was intent on having him fail. Okay, remember this. When Chavez came into power, the Venezuelan plutocracy was completely in opposition. It was almost like when Obama came into power.
No.
Okay, tell me where I'm wrong.
I'm telling this. Chavez was taken to office by the Venezuelan plutocracy. maybe you know that.
I actually
Let me
yeah,
explain you
go
what.
ahead.
The power instances, the
Yes.
media, the owners of companies, whatever, they were so upset with the previous parties.
But
with-
the previous
so
parties
they
were the
invented-
plutocracy.
No. It's different. The plutocracy is with you until you are doing your job. When you're stopping doing your job,
Right.
as those parties were really screwing the country. So you need a country. If you are the plutocracy, you need
Right.
a country.
Sure.
So these people was destroying. They thought they were destroying the country, and they went against the system, against AD and COPEI. These both parties, and Chavez was the person they supported to go against the system. Chavez was living in an apartment that belongs to the owner of one of the newspapers, El Nacional. And Chavez was flying in the private jets of the owners of the companies in Venezuela. And Chavez was taking almost every day to RCTV, Radio Caracas Televisión,
yes.
the same TV channel that
Telesur,
8 years later he closed it to open Telesur,
Telesur,
with
yes.
their same equipment that he stole it
Okay.
from the owners. So the plutocracy, as you call it, was the one that put Chavez in power. And I mean, Chavez has the speech, Chavez had the past, ex-cope military, so he was a product. When he got in power, he started doing different, but not only different against cutting with the plutocracy, doing different against building a country. Nobody supported Chavez, even the voters. We didn't vote for Chavez, I didn't, but the people that voted for Chavez. And Chavez, after year 2000, he had 85% support because his campaign, as Trump's proposal is the wall. Chavez, his main proposal was to rewrite the Constitution, una asamblea constituyente.
Claro.
And he rewrote the Constitution, and we went to a referendum, and the Constitution was approved. And after that approval of the new Constitution, that, by the way, is not socialist, is a very good progressive Constitution,
Right.
as you will say.
And that is socialist.
That's the point. For us, socialist is what Chavez was doing. And Chavez gave the name of socialism of the 21st century. It had a name. It had a book written
Boliviano,
by this German guy. So it is socialism. He was speaking socialism.
Yes.
Communism is an utopia that never has made in the world.
Exactly.
So the Soviet was socialism. The Chinese was socialism. So that was not the offer. That was not what the voters went from. So that's why the opposition started so immediately. And yes, the poor, a percentage of the poor were happy because they were receiving money. But at the end, when the money evaporated, they are poorer, and now they are starving. And he destroyed the whole country.
Here is one of the things that we see over here. Okay, we saw first of all, Chavez did not take over all means of production. That is absolutely not true, and you know that.
No.
He did not
But
take over all means of production.
One by one.
He took
Go
over.
one by one.
He took over the oil companies. I think he should have, and I think America needs to take over oil companies. Let me tell you what I think. What I honestly think. My theory of operations. The type of business that you did. You ran around Venezuela getting stories, presenting stories to the Venezuelan people. That's a freelancer. You should be able to do as you please and do that. If you want to open up a bakery, if you want to do all these things that don't involve the commons, you should have the ability to do that. It's called free enterprise, not capitalism.
Chavez destroyed all of that.
Capitalism is a failure, and I explained that in a paper that I just wrote for the Daily Coast over this weekend. Capitalism is a failure for but a few. It only knows how to transfer money to a few. That's a fact.
Let me explain you how that worked.
Yes.
As Chavez, his whole system was based on that he was the saver of the people. He was distributing money. But when you do that, you always need more and more money. What the people, they create inorganic money. So they export oil, they receive dollars, they need more bolivars. That was
Right.
our currency. So they created the devaluation.
Right.
So you got more bolivars, and you give a lot of bolivars to people.
Inflation,
You create inflation.
But-
when you create inflation, then you put in trouble to the private sector, because private sector needs to increase prices.
Right.
And when the people increase prices, the socialist species, that's the evil. They are the.
I know, you'll say, look,
they
it's
are
a-
taking your money. That is artificial. So they are creating the crisis. And what the saver should do, and he did, is that supermarket there, Cadena Éxito, let's take it down. I take expropiacy. I take the. And he started taking the coffee companies, the supermarkets, the production of cement.
Right.
He
Let me
took
tell you how we see.
He one day, and maybe you just saw it on TV, or you can,
Yeah.
because everything is in YouTube. He just was standing in front of the Congress, where it's a lot of buildings, commercial buildings. What is in there? That's a jewelry. Expropriate. Take it. What is there? Well, that's a, I don't know, grocery store. Take it. So that's what the populists do. Just say that company is the evil. I am the state. I'm the savior, and I'm saving you from them. And so you vote for me, and you hate them. And that's why Venezuela got so separated. So because
John, I know
from
that-
the government, and maybe you're
Yeah.
familiar with that.
Yes.
From the state, it start the separation and
The one thing that I think one of the big problems, first of all, is we learned that we the people are in fact the government. Okay, we the people
We
are
should
in
be.
fact
We should
the
be.
government.
Yeah.
But we also know that in America, and as well as in used to be in Venezuela, we the corporations are the ones who rule.
Yes.
And anybody who's listening to your point of view, right? It comes out to be that we the people have constantly been trying to take away what we the corporation or we the empresarios or we the whatever did. And my contention is to tell you is that there is a balance. And everything that I've learned about Venezuela, not only from what I read, but from people who've been there, Harry Belafonte and others that actually not only spoke to Chavez,
to the government.
but not only to Chavez, but went and spoke to the people who were able to, people who couldn't create yuca stands and banana stands and all these other stands to create their own empresas, their own sus empresas chiquitas, okay?
Small business.
Small businesses. I mean, under Chavez, people that never had the ability to do those things were able to do that because he was in his original goal. I know that's not how you see it, and
No. That's not, maybe you have some visitors going there and finding pieces of information. But let me explain you. Before Chavez, there was a country.
Yes.
With a free economy that people.
No, with an economy, with a free economy for a few.
Yeah, that's what you say, the prejudgment.
Right.
But there were people. Let me explain you. In 1950s, thousands of immigrants from Europe came to Venezuela.
Yes.
Portuguese, Spaniards, Italians.
Right.
All of them, they were hard workers.
Yes.
And all of them became entrepreneurs, and they made their families, and they grew, and people were able to start businesses. That wasn't the problem. The problem was that the government, these two parties, were handling the country in a way that created them the opportunity to steal a lot of money. But they were not really screwing the life of anybody. They created poverty. Why? As a consequence of the bad handling and not educating well to everybody, not giving the right quality education or whatever, the result was that the poverty was growing.
But John,
okay, the poverty,
yes,
but
John,
it was,
that's
it wasn't.
the consequence
Yes.
of capitalism is poverty of the masses.
Okay,
But
that's a
eso es
bigger
algo
topic.
matemático.
That's a bigger topic.
Yeah.
I just want to tell you, the only opposite or the only option or alternative to what you think is capitalism is not the socialism of Chavez.
No.
It's not Soviet socialism.
And that's not what we're looking for. In fact, that's not what we're preaching.
The automatic sympathy that you guys, the progressive here in the U.S., feel with Chavez is
Right.
that he's on the left and he's socialist. Because we are on the left and we are socialist, he's the good,
No,
and the other are the bad.
Have you heard me talk about the bad that he did?
No, in general.
Have you heard me talk about that? Have you heard me talk about the biggest mistake is in fact he made himself an oil economy? That I mean, a lot of what he did was assuming oil was going to be there for a very long time. I mean, in the case of Venezuela, oil will be there for a century or more because you guys are sitting on an ocean of oil.
Yeah, but oil is always a rich,
Right.
a wealth that is handling by a few.
Yes.
And let me explain you something. What Chavez failed to do, let's don't say, before Chavez it wasn't fine, but it wasn't a destruction. It gotta be solved. It gotta be improved. What Chavez did was a terrible solution for a problem. Let's don't say there wasn't a problem. There was a problem, but the solution, the remedy, was the disaster.
And John, what I'm saying
and that
to you,
disaster with a person really capable to speak, and a lot of people making resonance with the speech. You say, well, exactly what happened here is totally different. You cannot transpolate what happens in the U.S. with Venezuela. In the U.S., you basically have a right party and a center and left party. More on the left, the progressive. You say elect progressive people.
Right.
In Venezuela, we didn't, and we still don't have a right party. All the parties are from the center and center left. So when Chavez says the opposition is also left. So everything is relative. If your position is center left, you gotta go straight to the hyper left, and in becoming communist, that was what Chavez did. You're saying, okay, that's communist, taking the companies. That's exactly what Chavez did, and that's exactly what Fidel did.
Let me tell you one thing, okay? And this is not trying to defend Chavez, Maduro, or anything like this, okay? But I can see, and this is it. I can see when you have a private sector, right, that is fighting to take over we the people, that you have to create laws to control. Just like we have laws to prevent you from lying to people about what is and what isn't. When you talk about the media was entirely, for quite a while in Venezuela, controlled. The media that people saw. And remember, in Panama, we used to get Simplemente Maria and all these other great novelas from Venezuela.
Yes.
But when you had a system controlled completely by the plutocracy, which I wish you would just, we have to start from the same facts. And the same facts are that Venezuela, like America, has a controlling plutocracy that controlled everything. And not only did they control everything, their media controlled everything. And we have to be honest. When when Chavez came into power, they were all on the attack. All of them. All the media was on the attack. I know what you said before.
Not when he got into power.
When he got into power, remember he got into power twice. The first time.
No, 1999, and then forever. He stayed there forever.
Yeah, but remember there was a coup.
There was a coup. I participated in that coup. I tried it. Yes, of course.
Right.
That was the April 11 of 2002.
Right.
Yes. He was the evil man. We had to take him down.
You were taking him down when he just got into power.
As right now.
You tried to take him down when he just got into power.
In that moment, he already started those laws that was creating a socialist, communist country. Look, he tried to create those things laws.
When you tried to overthrow Chavez,
yes.
What was the first thing that caused you to believe you needed to overthrow Chavez?
Saying that the property of the patria potestad of the children belongs to the government.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was enough for you to go ahead?
Not only that. It's taking down all the, attacking the media, attacking the production.
Was the media attacking him?
Of course. Let me explain you this, Egberto. If you get to office with the support of the media, that maybe you don't believe.
It's not true.
Investigate that.
That's not true, John.
No,
Egberto. That is, John,
Let me explain.
Not true.
investigate Miguel Enrique Otero,
Okay.
owner of El Nacional. Is the main diary,
That is
newspaper.
like Panamá would be like saying La Prensa.
Okay, Chavez was living in an apartment that was owned by him. He flew the airplanes of the owners of other media, TV channels.
Chicken or egg?
What?
Chicken or egg? What
I
that
don't
means
know.
is when somebody finally gets into power, isn't it true that the plutocracy tries to first
Yes.
So and that's
Okay,
what I'm saying. That can be spun anyway.
But let me explain you something.
Yes.
You said that it was too soon to assess that
Yes.
just after 3 years being in power, 2.5 years, it was too soon to try to deploy him.
Right.
But we were not a mistake because the guy finally destroyed the country.
Well,
So at the
I
end,
don't agree with that, of course, and let me tell you why. I just,
So you don't
I just
see
put
the country destroyed?
No, I see that the country is destroyed
completely.
But let me
And it was destroyed by him.
no, the country was destroyed
By?
by mismanagement and a plutocracy that is spiteful. And let me tell you what I mean by
It
that.
doesn't exist.
Yes, it.
He
Okay, let me ask you this.
erased it.
So, okay,
You know where is the Venezuelan plutocracy?
What is Venezuelan plutocracy?
In Paris.
You want me to tell
here,
you something?
in Miami, in Katy.
Did you have money? Did you have money in Venezuela?
I don't have anything.
No, I'm
I
saying,
have my house. It's
What
the
I'm
only
saying.
thing.
Okay, you came to the United States with money. Is that right?
No, not too much.
Oh,
No, I had. Let me explain you my case. I was a good entrepreneur. I started.
you are a good entrepreneur.
I am, but I have rebuilt because I was the importer
Yes.
of a motorcycle brand that you maybe know. It's KTM.
Yes.
I started working. I saved money. I have $23,000 in my pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And a friend got a contact with KTM in the U.S. and I started making everything, business plan, whatever. 2 years later, I got the distributorship for importing motorcycles to it. That was 1999. I started a business. I opened a shop. I was doing good. I started working very hard. And in 2008, Chavez says, ban to imports of motorcycles.
Why?
Because, well, I didn't know why. Because importing is bad. You need to produce here. Whatever, nationalist stupidities. Because in Venezuela, we were not going to build a KTM motorcycle
Right.
in the world. Never. But at the end, what you saw years later, 2 years later, or almost immediately, is that the motorcycles importing was taken by the military, friends of Chavez, and people with the government.
No, that's terrible.
That's what happened. That was the Chavismo. Chavismo was taking the plutocracy from the previous
I'm giving it to
and
military.
giving to his friends. And that's what happened. And that's what you guys don't see.
okay.
And so, you know what? In Venezuela, not now, because
Right.
now we're
It's all
absolutely ruined. But all these years, they were importing motorcycles. So the ban was just for the ones that are not my friends. And that's exactly what is totally not economic freedom. Is the people that is with the government can leave, the other ones die. That's exactly what happened.
Look, I look.
So,
what you just,
by the way,
what you just
that's
explained to
explain
me,
you
no,
how free economy was with Chavez.
No.
Not totally
okay,
not free.
that is okay. The story that you just told me is corruption. The story that you told me that you just told me is corruption. If it occurred under Chavez, you're absolutely right. That is not how you run a free economy. Does that happen here and there sometimes in the world? Yes. Is it justified? No. But my thing is, in the aggregate, if you're telling me in the aggregate that was the behavior of Chavismo, then I'll tell you, you're going against everything that I have gotten. Remember, I can't listen to just
But
you
let me,
or people that were,
As this example was good for me, from
That was
my
a
point,
perfect example.
let me develop this more. In this same industry, the motorcycles,
Right.
we had a Honda
Yeah.
in Venezuela. They had to leave. We had Yamaha, and they have not sold motorcycles since then. The only thing they have been able to sell is outboards, more for boats. So Yamaha disappeared, Honda disappeared. The only brand that's still there is Suzuki, because they made a company 51% owned by the government with the private entrepreneur that had the the distributorship. And this 51%, they got the 51% of the company with $0. They got, okay, if you want to continue alive, we need to be the majority in the company. And they did that with everybody, in not only motorcycles, with cars. That's why now we don't have Toyota, we don't have General Motors, we don't have Firestone wheels. All these companies have to leave the country. That's how he destroyed the private sector. He said, or it's me, the state, or you are gone. That's what he did. He destroyed it. And now that not now, then he was so lucky that he died at the time, because he died and the oil was not.
It tumbled, yeah.
When he died, then, and he took, okay, Nicolas, you are the next, you follow up. And Nicolas exactly did the same. If you follow a policy, he didn't change a piece. He just has been keeping the price control, imports control, the exchange control. So all the controls are the same. But what happened? Now there's no money. So
John,
people say, Chavez was good, the bad one is Maduro. No, it's the same policy.
Okay, and I think, okay, I'll tell you where I'll go from here, because I think we're pretty much concluded with where we're going to get from this. But here's what I'm saying.
And but let me finish with this.
Yes.
I came here, please, we the Venezuelans, we need the support of the progressive movement, because what we're fighting for freedom. Yes, you were confused. Yes, you thought Chavez and Maduro were the left and were good guys. Please research deeper. They are evil. They destroyed our country. Now you have 90% of Venezuelans fighting for freedom, trying to get help. Yes, military intervention. Of course, I don't want it. But we just need something that helps us to get rid of the regime and restart a democracy, not a democracy of the plutocracy, a democracy of the people, a democracy of the people to be able to work, to develop, to study, to create a business, or to go and find a good job. That's the democracy we want to make. We call it the Venezuela we all want, the Venezuela que queremos. So please help us. If you are an activist, if you are a progressive, deeper, go talk to Venezuelans here in the U.S. Now we are more and more every time. Go and find somebody from Venezuela and please tell me your story, and you will find a very different story. Please don't watch Telesur. Telesur belongs to the Venezuelan government. It's like if telling me that you understand the USA because you see Fox News.
Okay.
Yes, no.
I mean that is a good point. Okay, I listen to Telesur, but I read other news rags as well. So not only
Barry Woodman, I recommend you is aporrea.org. Aporrea.
Spell it.
APARROEO.org.
Aporrea or Apo?
Aporrea.
You said A, so it's APO.
APORREO. So Aporrea was a completely Chavista media. For years, it was the anchor of Chavez, and now it's opposition. And they are progressive. Most of them are on the left.
The reason you are here on Politics Done Right is we are always open to change opinions. We are always open to hear. And like I said, I only want people here to listen to the truth. Now, I heard your point of view. I'm going to be speaking to a few, Kevin Cici and a few other folks that were in Venezuela. And knowing that they were in Venezuela, and probably, you can't know Venezuela by being there for a week or 2 or 3 or 4. You have to really embed yourself with the system. But look, like everybody else, I want to get the truth. There's one thing I don't want. I don't want an American invasion of Venezuela. I just spoke to the ambassador of Colombia last couple of weeks ago, and he had the same point of view that you had. So I mean, it's interesting. I want to speak to a whole lot more people before I am able to change what I have believed for a long time and what have been made clear to me for a long time on Chavismo and what Chavez did in Venezuela. There's one thing that I will stick with. The United States would never allow a country sitting on a pool of oil for that country to become a true democratic socialist state, which says the natural resources of this country belongs to every single Venezuelan. Because if he did that, America would want to know, what about all the natural resources in Colorado, Nebraska, and all these other places? So we have to look at this from a pragmatic point of view. You could be right in the way you see things, okay? And there would still be a problem that I think would have to be resolved. And that is to realize that we have to come to a point where we realize that the natural resources of a country, where we realize that there are certain commons in a country that does not belong in the free enterprise. So, I think
They're common, that belongs to everybody.
That belongs to everybody, and not only that, there are certain parts of an economy that we as a society need to say we're not going to allow folks to profit from it. But we need to make that clear, and also people have to, like you insinuated, have to vote on it. What we don't want is for Venezuela to go back to where it was, and for the United States to remain where it is, which is no different than a form of the plutocracia that we had in Venezuela during the Andrés Pérez regime and other regimes before Hugo Chavez.
That's right. We are not going back to the past. That was my phrase. Ni un paso atrás, no step behind, and they won't come back. So no volverán.
Señor John Garcia, it was a pleasure having you here to talk. Okay, folks, I hope you enjoyed the interview. It's interesting because what I'm starting to find is a lot of Venezuelans that support what I call the Venezuelans that support the plutocracy. Now, I think John is a good guy, and people that are into the plutocracy, they're not necessarily bad people. I consider them a lot of times, tunnel vision. They don't understand how what they are doing actually is on the backs of others, because the way it is displayed, the way things are done, you never think that what you are doing could possibly affect another. But why do I think there's a concerted effort to get on whatever progressive channels they can to try to convince progressives that, hey guys, remember, everything that Chavez did was bad, and there's that's going on right now. Just today, there's an opinion article by Joanna Hausman, video by Leah Varjakes and Christopher Knight. Title of the article, What My Fellow Liberals Don't Get About Venezuela. In other words, turn a few fellow liberals, convince them, and then have them tell a story. Now, what I did is I went ahead and listened to her video, 5 minutes and 13 seconds, right? And the video was initially convincing, but then they went overboard with the things that Chavez did, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Look, folks, there are no saints here. Was Chavez a saint? Hell no. Is Maduro a saint? Hell no. Maduro's a crook. But so is Trump. And nobody is asking for us to overthrow Trump. Nobody will allow us to overthrow Trump. So we have no right overthrowing Maduro. Let those folks have another election and get their person out. That is how you do it. Not for the United States to invade and do exactly what they did in Panama and murder 10,000 Panamanians. That will never be the answer. The answer is let the people have a vote and set monitors in there to help them with the vote. And we probably need monitors in 2020 at our election to ensure that our vote is clean as well. Because there is no, whenever you hear them say, we are going to get like Venezuela. No, we're not going to get like Venezuela. We are Venezuela. Under Trump, we are Venezuela. We are going through the exact paths that take us to being like Venezuela. It's hard to say that, but I can attest to that. I am originally from Central America. I understand the concepts. And we are walking down the road to Venezuela, not because progressives want to have a system that really takes care to do that. We are doing this on our own with Trump deconstructing all our institutions. So don't read it wrong. The reason I also stay on Venezuela is not only that we don't want to go to war with Venezuela, but for Americans to understand that, in fact, Trump is Maduro. Trump is Maduro. and the deconstruction that's happening with the courts, the deconstructions that's happening with regulation, the deconstructions that are happening with all our institutions, the attack on the environment, the attack on all these things. Don't be mistaken. The way we become Venezuela is sticking to the right. Okay? And when you look at Maduro, what's going on with Maduro, Maduro is just an instantiation of rightward action. So what I'm trying to tell folks is, look, I'm going to tell you something about John. You know, like I said, John is a friend of Guaido, the guy that we just interviewed, who's the quote-unquote president of Venezuela right now. Additionally, he lost his company to Chavez, and apparently, and I believe him. I think he lost his company in a quasi corrupt manner. But also when he lost his company, he didn't have the licenses from the government. So, I mean, there are two sides to stories, and but I do think he got ripped off. I do think they took his money away. I do believe all of that. But again, it is a system, and you can't look at these individual issues and cover what has really happened in Venezuela. I'm going to tell you about all of Latin America. All the poverty, all the people that are coming up here from Latin America. We don't understand that all these people coming up from Latin America is a function of these regimes that we prop up. It is a function of the type of capitalism that we are trying to export there that exploit these people that have nothing. They have a strong plutocracy in Guatemala. They have a strong plutocracy in all these countries. All of them do. Just like us. And eventually, by definition, eventually, you have to have the mass separation of people. Eventually, you have to have people get poorer. Why? Because the economy grows at a fixed rate and they continue to accumulate. And it's the same thing that's happening in the United States. We just have a novel way of doing it. It's called debt. Our novel way of exploiting people while enriching a few is called debt. Later on this week, I'm going to have Professor Richard Wolff, Dr. Wolff. He is going to give us an economic lesson. He is one of the most active, well-respected economists that can't make it often on TV. And the reason why is that he understands how economics work. And he's going to be with us for the entire hour on Thursday, I believe. Dr. Richard Wolff. Look it up. That is who we're going to have. Folks, I am serious about us having... You see, you're not going to get this on mainstream media, right? What I'm saying is blasphemy. What I'm trying to preach here, what I'm trying to promote here is self-education. Don't listen to Egberto. Use it as a catalyst to go and learn more. Use it as a catalyst to say, I can go out there and learn how these people are screwing me. My book, as I see it, Class Warfare, the only resort to right, I go through a lot of that in the book. How the system works, how it's designed to hurt us. I mean, let me stop. It was not designed to hurt us. I'm sorry. That's not what it was designed for. It was designed to enrich a few. It was designed to have a few in control. Remember, if you can find my video on price and power, you have price and power, you rule. You don't have price and power, you just take whatever they get. They give you a raise and they take it right back with price and power. Folks, I beg you, learn this stuff on our own. Don't listen to what they're trying to tell you on Fox News. Oh, those people want something for free. I don't want a damn thing for free. I built a company. I let it go to do this. This is how devoted I am to this stuff, man. We are getting screwed. And I was one of the screwers. I mean, when I charged in the old days, and by the way, just let me let you know, I don't have that kind of money anymore. No more. I have to depend on these institutions now. But I've been doing this for over 8 years now without, again, just winging it. But let me tell you something, folks. Let me tell you this. Listen to me and listen to me clearly, my brothers and sisters. This is important stuff. This is important stuff. But before let me get to, please go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright. Support Politics Done Right so that we can continue the education of us all. Patreon.com/politics done right. That's patreon.com/politics done right. Let's get together, educate ourselves, so that we don't, whenever we say we want Medicare for all, whenever we say we want the Green New Deal, that there's socialism, don't be scared. Lean in. Say, no, we just want to take care of people. We want free enterprise. We want John Peter to be able to own his own bakery and not have to owe it to corporations. We want John Amos to own his own cement company. We want John Peter to own her own store. We want Michelle to own her own things. That's what we want. Free enterprise. You don't have that now. Look at what happened here. I have a media company now, and in one day, they decided what was going to happen with the way they distribute your feed. One day, 90% of your income, because they own the pricing scheme. They own the means of production. If it were done equitably, if it were done, in a manner where everybody have equal access to success, we could make it, folks. I got to get out of here. I'm at a panel in an hour and 58 minutes at the University of Houston. We're going to be talking about left-wing media. What do we have to do to get our message out? With Mr. Barassani, if you've got my newsletter this morning, it gives you all the directions. I don't have it on me right now on how to get to the University of Houston, where we're going to have a panel to discuss media. I'm heading out there right now. Folks, thank you so kindly for listening to the show. Please go ahead and go to patreon.com/politics done right. Join us. Please subscribe. That is how we are going to grow. That is how we are going to get our message out. That is how we're going to do it. If you just want to give a contribution, you can also just go to politicsdoneright.com and click on the donate button or some other button that's there. There are several buttons on the screen. Thank you so kindly for having been with us. This is the end of the show. I hope you enjoyed it. I love you guys all. You know how I'm going to end this. I'm Egberto Willis. This is Politics Done Right, and I am what? Out!
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.
1, 2, 3, 4.